Well, finally people realize, you know, we're here to get paid. It's as simple as that. I mean, a lot of people, you see them after a fight, they say, yeah, I'll fight whoever the UFC want me to fight. It's not about that. It's about getting in, making some noise, getting a following, selling fights, and making as much money as possible. You know, this is a dangerous business. This is not a game. And for my next fight, I'm not saying I want $20 million, but I want the most money I've ever had for one of my fights ever. Otherwise, I'm not fighting either. I hate that. I hate it when people say, I'm just happy to be here. How on earth do you expect to get compensated appropriately if you walk around saying in the cage after a fight, I'm just happy to be here? It's like, no, I ain't happy to be here. I'm here because I deserve to be here. They want me here because I'm the best. I provide entertainment, so pay me for it. Not I'm happy to be here. All these assholes that say that, they're diminishing the value of everybody in the UFC. You shouldn't say that. You shouldn't say that. Happy to be here. Oh, you're happy to be here? Getting your ass kicked, training for 2 months at a time, dieting, making sacrifices, getting your skull caved in. You're happy to be here? You're an idiot.
Okay, so there was a gentleman named Bob Meyerowitz. He's from New York. He owned the UFC. And at the time, you're talking around, you know, 2000, 99, 2000. I was involved in boxing, big boxing guy, and my partners and I, the Fertitta brothers, they owned casinos in Vegas. And we started taking jiu-jitsu together, and we fell in love with it, right? So we're training 4 or 5 days a week, and I end up training with Chuck Liddell and Tito Ortiz and John Lewis and all these different guys, and I end up managing Tito Ortiz and Chuck Liddell. And at the time, I get into a huge contract battle with the old owner, Bob Meyerowitz, over Tito's contract. And basically, we get into this thing, and by the time the phone conversation was over, I knew they were in trouble. I said, you owed him X amount of dollars, and you want to make it up, give him the piece of the pay-per-view, and we can make up what you owe him. He said, there is no pay-per-view. There is no money. And pretty soon, there's probably not even going to be a UFC.
Okay.
He
what year is this?
He snapped on
around
me.
2000.
Okay.
Yeah, this is around 2000. And so I called the Fertitta brothers. They're down in Miami at the time. And I said, I think we can buy the UFC. And at the time, Lorenzo and I were going to get involved in boxing. And so Lorenzo put in a call to buy Meyerowitz. A month later, we own the UFC. We bought it for $2 million. And I have always had this philosophy. I don't care what color you are. I don't care what language you speak. And I don't care what country you're from. We're all human beings. Fighting's in our DNA, man. We get it and we like it. It does not have to be explained to us. And it works everywhere. And especially, if you think about it, some of the most famous human beings to ever live in sports are fighters. You know, whether it's Muhammad Ali, Mike Tyson. Think about this. You ask any of these kids these days, do this test. Ask kids. Everybody knows who Bruce Lee is. He died in the early 70s,
right,
and everybody knows who he is. Ask them if they know who James Dean is. They won't know who James Dean is, but they know Bruce Lee.
Right.
That's right.
Because as human beings, we're fascinated by who the toughest people in the world are.
How old were you when you took over the UFC back in 2000?
I was 30 years old. You know, Conor and I are very cool, you know, and do I put up with a lot of different stuff with this guy? I do, because he's worth it, and he's different, you know. Ego is a beautiful thing in the fight business. You have to have it. But ego destroys everything. Ego destroys the best of... Guns N' Roses can't get together in the last 10 years to put out another album or tour and play. It's ego. And the list goes on and on of friendships and businesses and rock groups that have all broken up because of ego. And it's a dangerous thing sometimes, too, though. You have to be very careful.
What's going to happen?
There's a fine line with ego. We should have never done it in the first place. That's what weight classes are for. They wanted to do it. We did it. They wanted to do it again. We did it again. They're 1-1. There's only so many of those wars you can be in your career, and it takes a lot out of you. Some guys go into wars like that, and they're never the same after it again, you know?
So what's the next?
Look at Meldrick Taylor when he fought Julio Cesar Chavez.
Yeah.
There's one for you. When
Yeah,
you're done,
yeah,
right?
absolutely.
I mean,
Yeah, we know what that
he
is.
was never the same after that fight. And we've had those type of fights, too. I believe that Rory McDonald was never the same after the Robbie Lawler fight. That fight ruined him. So, you know, I don't want to do that to someone special like Conor McGregor. You know what I mean? It's just not right. Conor is a very talented fighter. He's very, very good. And every time he goes out there, he looks better, right? And when you talk about what's crazy about our sport, too, when you talk about the pound for pound, they don't have Conor McGregor as the pound for pound. The media does the ratings. When you talk about what the pound for pound really means, how is it not Conor McGregor? The guy was the 45-pound champion, 55-pound champion, and beat a guy at 170. That's what pound for pound really means. So.
I can fill you with real millionaire shit. That's cargo, my cargo, 160, swiftly.